What's poppin', everyone? Adma here. Now, all of you just heard about the new Apple silicon chips that just got launched yesterday, along with the new Macs, the new MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini. But now, I want to talk about the M1 chip. So, the M1 chip is actually a very interesting piece of hardware, and I feel it's going to affect the laptops to desktop market in a very, very significant way. So let me explain. Now, the M1 chip is an SOC. Now, in case you don't know what an SOC is, SOC stands for System on Chip, which basically means that it's one chip that has most of the various important things that a gadget needs to run. So in the case of this M1 chip, it has the CPU, the GPU, the neural cores, and some other things like IO and etc, 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 all in one chip. Now, the advantage of this is, one, there's no need for data to travel a long distance to get to the CPU. Everything is housed within one chip. So there's fast connectivity between all of these chips. Two, it increases the efficiency of the chip and makes it a bit faster and a bit more power conservative. Now, aside all of this jargon that I'm talking about right now, have we ever seen an SoC before? Yes, in our phones. All of our phones are running all of these chipsets. So you hear us talk about Snapdragon 660, 665, MediaTek Helio P60. All of these are SoCs. And because of that, they all have the CPU and the GPU all integrated into one thing. Now, if you're a bit tech nerdy, you may actually know about APUs, and you may be wondering what's the difference between APU and SoC in this case. Now, the APU stands for Accelerated Processing Unit. Now, the difference here is that the SoC combines many functional parts of the computer into one chip. An APU only combines the CPU and the GPU. That's the easiest way to explain it. So because of that, the difference here is you find your CPU and your GPU in one place, but then you have things like your Wi-Fi card and your IO and all the rest in different parts of the system. While in an SoC, all of these things are combined into one. Now, I've already talked about all the advantages of this. So how is this going to affect the laptop and PC landscape? Now, when we talk about laptops and computers, we always talk about the CPU and the GPU. And for laptops, if you're someone who's into gaming or very heavy animations and all of that, you need a laptop with a discrete graphics card. That's because all of our processors, even though some of them come with integrated graphics, the integrated graphics aren't as good as what we would like. So we need a separate card, a separate GPU to handle graphics related tasks like color grading and animation and Photoshop and the rest of them. Now, Apple is claiming that with their integrated GPU, they're going to get 3 times more performance than those of a certain laptop. Now, it's a bit confusing because we don't know which laptops they're talking about. I want to think that they're talking about their former MacBooks, the ones that were still running on Intel processors, but I don't really know. But then it is still a big thing. Now, bear in mind here, we don't have actual numbers for these things, so we don't know whether these claims are actually legit or not. But going off what Apple said, 3 times the performance, that's basically making it good enough to do gaming, Photoshop, and everything you wanted to do without a discrete graphics card. So that means your laptop can be thin and portable and also light and also have a lot of room for thermal cooling without sacrificing on performance, which is huge, because if Apple does this and they implement it well and it works well, it's going to mean that a lot of other companies are going to try to replicate. And when they try to replicate, the consumers end up benefiting from this. Because I know a lot of people who would give everything they have to have a thin and light laptop that can still do gaming and other things for them fairly well. So imagine, for instance, that AMD and Intel now start producing SOCs for laptops, and these SOCs are giving us some terrific performance. I mean, it's really going to shake up the perspective of what we have on laptops now, because that will bring us into a new age of laptops where we don't actually need a discrete graphics card to get some good performance, and we just have the SoC doing everything for us. Now, bear in mind, I didn't say that SoCs will replace discrete graphics cards. That's not possible. A discrete graphics card is there for a reason. If you need to do some very, very intensive graphics work, like say 8K video editing or 12K, thanks to Blackmagic, you need a discrete graphics card. You can't do that on an SoC, at least not now. So it's actually very interesting. And looking at all of these, it makes me wonder how this new introduction will cause a change in the laptop and PC segments. Now, bear in mind, it's not like as though we don't have SoCs for PCs, but then they haven't been common. I know that ARM makes some laptop SoCs, and you have SoCs in some things like smart toasters, etc., etc. But now that Apple has actually done this with M1, we're going to see a big push into laptops and other things, and probably over time we'll enter this new age, like I was saying before, where things are thin, light, and portable, but still don't skip out on performance. Well, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.
We must pay homage to him.